trolling. Forgetting about that. All right, I think we're there. All right, 2 minute contribution war times. I'm your host, Sarana Todd Kenon Nupu, and I'm back from a little bit taking some time off to get this stuff ready. I was not relaxing as much as people think we're relaxing. Trust me, when we not around, we still working. And we're gonna get right to the proceedings after the cans introduce themselves. True peace.
True peace, everyone. This is New Karu Nupu, and I'm here as a Nunibu helper, teacher, and student, proud member of the Ethiopian race, representing our culture and who we are. We're here just to get some lessons out, and hope the people can breathe this information in because it's going nowhere. And yeah, join along, hop along. We need some reasonable minds, people that's up to par with intelligence, and just want to get it in, just want to get this information in and study and learn and build our families, and liberate yourself first and foremost. Get out the situation. True peace.
All right, true peace, all kins and friends. I am Anuk Bunu Nupu. I'm a member of the Ethiopian, African, and woolly head race. I'm also a proud representative of Nuna Nupu, given to us by our great and noble messenger, Afro Ununupu. Yes, tonight will be an amazing episode. I already see just from the title that is going to be some sparks that are going to fly off the hinges. I would like to say that I'll be coming back soon. Had a couple of events that were happening in my life. I had to go to a funeral yesterday. I had to take care of some business. My aunt, she ended up passing away. Just had to take care of that. But I got a couple of shows lined up for us. I was supposed to explain to y'all Veterans Day. Even though Veterans Day has passed, I still have an episode lined up for Veterans Day. Always do a little holiday get up for that. Also retrograde. I have a show on the retrograde as well. I think this would be very helpful and powerful. Probably one of the most powerful classes that we're gonna have. And also we're gonna get back to the 9-ball. All right, so all of those lined up. Just today I was just a little drained from working, so I had to get myself some rest and not overextend myself, but possibly be back tomorrow. So stay tuned, and I can't wait for tonight's episode because I already know it's going to be a smoker in the ether. All right, true peace.
All right. Before we get started, I want to thank the Kens for showing up. Nebu should be in the building eventually, so we're just gonna kick the ball off into the end zone and start the proceedings. But before we do, we must continue with the commandment of the memorandum, which we're going to start right about now.
Listen to reason. The following memorandum is the conversation each and every new Nibu of the Ethiopian race should have with Nupu at least once a day, and the name Nupu should be pronounced in mind, whisper, or out loud in the numbers order given and before the conversation starts. The numbers order given creates 2 ends as you read the name, and the 2 ends made by reading and pronouncing the name Nupu 9 times stand for Nupu and New. Nupu, 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 Nupu. Remember the promise and covenant with your messenger, and also writer, Afro Unu, and all those who learn, accept, and practice positive nature knowledge and the laws of nature, as explained and described by Newton, your active science of all the worlds. Your promise and also covenant having been duly made are binding as following: economic well-being and liberation of the Ethiopian race, mentally, spiritually, and also physically, because it is the time and cycle for this action for your posterity, the Ethiopian race, and because we all, meaning Ripu, Gipu, and Sipu and all adherents dedicate and obligate the rest of our lives to sound right reason. Who is Nupu? Positive nature knowledge, the laws of nature, also truth, equality, justice and practicing rightness, which is new to the best of our knowledge and also abilities. The time for the Savior has passed. It is now time for the mental resurrection, liberation, justice, judgment, settlement, and balance for all peoples on planet Earth, as promised by the forces of nature and predicted by the ancients and sages of antiquity. Nupu, please cause it to be. Listen to.
All right. We're finna get ready to start these proceedings. Let me go back to where we was. Let me get to the. All right. So let me get ready to share my screen. Let's kick off these proceedings. Where is it at? Here we go. Let me know if y'all can see that goodness. Yeah. Y'all see that?
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
All right. This is 9 to 9 Pound 9, written by Nefertiti Tarkina Nupu. Nupu meant to year 99, Noon Ethiopian year 63, 11/11/2025, 1,249 days until April 13, 2029. That is 3 years, 5 months, and 1 day, 41 months, 178 weeks, 29,958 hours, 1,797,484 minutes. All right, so we're going to start with the proceedings with what Mr. York said about 9 to the 9th power 19. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that for a quick moment. We're going to go to the video. Let me know when y'all can see that.
Yep. Can see it.
All right. All right. Let's go. Cut it up a little bit.
9,999 is really mathematical figure 9 to the 9th power of 9. But when we write it out, people usually say 999. It's 9 to the 9th power of 9. That's the largest figure that you can calculate because the highest number is 9. Anything else, any numbers above 9 are compound numbers. Meaning 11 is a compound of 2 ones. 12 is a compound of a 1 and 2. They're not numbers. They're compound figures. So 9 is the highest number. We have 2 figures of death and destruction that pertains to the beast, and his was 6666. That was when last time the devil came into power on earth. And that was up in 72nd Street when he incarnated through Pope Paul VI, PP6. A P is an inverted 6. You follow that? And then we have our own 999, 9th day of 1999, which was the end of the devil's reign. Those 2 figures are there. In Freemasonry, they hide behind the sacred number of the sacred names of Ra and say he has 69 names. You know what I'm saying? That 69 names is symbolic of 6 and 9. 6 ether, 9 ether. 9 ether in death becomes ghost in 6 ether. 6 ether in death becomes nothingness.
All right, so we heard a whole bunch of niggatry. Number one, nowhere in Noon, the Bible interpretation, the 9 balls, the nature of nature, moon setting, sunrise, transcript, tape, ain't nothing inside that information mentions 9 to the 9th power 9. I'll give you $1,000 if you can show me. And nowhere is that ever found. The same way y'all ain't gonna never find get from behind the 9 ball. It don't exist. Because York is a liar. All right? That's the first thing we need to establish. Then he switches it to religion because he is a religionist Kabbalist. A black Jew is what he and his followers are. And I don't mean Jews and Hebrew Israelites. I mean modern day black Zionists pretending that they for the Ethiopian African race, but everything York did was under the guise being hypnotized by the moon god, practicing Kabbalah and hiding it, which we're going to prove that in this video and in the next one. But the whole thing is to show you that he didn't know what the hell he was talking about when it came to Noon. All right, then he said 9 ether, he's repeating was in the BIE. 9 ether dies and becomes 6 ether. 6 ether dies and turns into 3 ether. There's no 6 ether dies and turn into nothingness because you jumping backwards. It's once you hit 3, the 9 ball 6, it goes to what? 2, 1, 0, and out. How 6 ether dies and then dies again and goes into nothingness. Once again, this is why we have to break the spell of what York was doing. Just like Noon has to break the spell of each religion individually. And a lot of times it takes not only nature, not just removing the individual, but the nature, you have to then do the work after that. Hold on for a second. Yeah, Ken, what's up? All right. Okay, tripping. All right, my bad. That was the Ken. He having a problem getting in. All right. Let me send this to him real quick and we get on with the proceedings, everybody. Because I don't like to waste people's time. All right, so let's stop sharing that. All right, because we ain't got to get into all this other stuff he was saying about the opposite of 666, which he's talking about the 6 month and the 6th day of 1966. And he used the movie of Rosemary's Baby to say that was the last time the devil's in power. Another fallacy and a lie. In Noon, the devil is a couple of gods. And their power is gonna be ended after the cataclysm. The Caucasian or the spirit powers in general are still ruling. Even though we see America is going through a transfer of wealth and all that, America's not falling on its own. The super elite rich is doing it on purpose. All right. So let's go back to the information. All right, let me know when y'all can see that.
All right, the presentation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Y'all see it? It still ain't showed up?
Oh, yeah, on the presentation screen. Yeah, I see it.
All right, so let's go on. All right, DeepSeek response to the audio. On the 9 to the 9th power 9, York claims he confirms this is a mathematical figure and that is the largest figure that you can calculate. Mathematical misunderstanding. This is profound misunderstanding of mathematics. There is no, let me see. There is no largest figure you can calculate. The number system is infinite. You can always add 1 to any number to make a large one. After 9 to the 9th power 9, you can calculate 9 to the 9th power 9 plus 1, and so on, forever. The largest figure fallacy, this is not a mathematical concept, but a numerological and mystical one. In various esoteric traditions like the Kabbalah or the Pythagorean numerology, 9 is considered the number of completion and finality because it is the last single digit. York is borrowing this mystical idea and correctly presented as a mathematical rule. On compound numbers, York claims he states that the numbers above 9, like 11 or 12, are compound numbers and they are not numbers. He claims only 1 through 9 are true numbers. Analysis and comment. This is completely incorrect mathematically. In our base 10 numeral system, the digits 0 through 9 are the building blocks. Numbers like 11 are not compound numbers. They are complete, valid numbers in their own right. The position of the digits, the tens place and the ones place, gives them their value. Saying 11 is a compound of 2 ones is like saying the word cat isn't a real word because it's compound of the letter C-A-T. Source of the idea is pure numerology, not mathematics. It comes directly from Pythagoreanism and later esoteric systems where single-digit numbers 1 through 9 are considered root numbers that hold archetypal meanings, and all large numbers are reduced to a root number by adding their digits. 11 is 1 plus 1 equals 2. York has taken this symbolic interpretive tool of numerology and presented it as a hard fact about the nature of number themselves. Now, I know you know a little bit about numbers, so if you want to break in, just let me know. Mm-hmm. This is not my field. All right, overall analysis was an overall analysis of explanation. York's explanation reveals his method with perfect clarity. He starts with a mystical premise. He begins with the numerological belief that 9 is sacred, complete number. He creates a pseudo-mathematical rule. He invents a false mathematical limit, the largest figure you can calculate, to glorify the number 9. He redefines terminology. He redefines the standard mathematical meaning of number to support his premise, dismissing all numbers above 9 as compounds. He creates an esoteric truth. The final product, 9 to the 9th power 9, is presented as a profound secret key to that only those in his system can understand. York is not doing mathematics. He's using the language of mathematics, words like power, calculate, and compound to build a self-contained mystical belief system. His reason is circular and would be rejected by any mathematician. Real math, a universal language of logic and proof based on agreed upon rules that are consistent and infinite. York's math, a personal symbolic system designed to give his theological concept of 9 ether a false sense of scientific and mathematical authority. This transcript is the smoking gun that shows he is consciously blending numerology and scientific sounding jargon to create his doctrine. Our question to deep seek. York used a term to describe 9 ether as 9 to the 9th power 9. What branch of science is this? And is that such a phrase? Deep seek respond. This is an excellent question that gets to the very core of Dwight York's method. The phrase 9 to the 9th power 9 is not a standard or valid concept in any branch of mathematics or physical science. Let's break down exactly what this is and where it likes to come from. Mathematical analysis. What does the phrase even mean? The phrase is grammatically and mathematically ambiguous. Let's interpret it in the two most logical ways. Interpretation. A, 9 to the 9th power to the 9th power. This will be written as 9 and another 9 in parentheses and 9 outside of parentheses. 9 to the 9th power equals 387,489. An astronomically large number, approximately 1.966 times 10 to the 80. Interpretation B, 9 to the 9th power 9. This would be 9 to the 9th power 9, since 9 to the 9th power. The 9 to 9 is 387,420,489. And then this is 938742004B9. I don't understand what that was. All right. This number is inconceivably vast. It is far greater than the number of atoms in the observable universe, which is about 10 to the 80th power. Conclusion. From a math science perspective, no branch of science uses number of this magnitude to describe a physical substance like ether. In physics, such large numbers only appear in theoretical cosmology, like the number of possible quantum states in a volume of space. But they are never attached to a definition of a prime element. The number is functionality meaningless in a practical or chemical sense. What branch of science is this? Answer, none. This is numerology and esoteric symbolism, not science. York is using the language of mathematics, words like power and nine, to create an aura of scientific precision, but the concept itself is entirely mystical. Source and purpose, where will York get this? This phrasing is a classical trope in esoteric, occult, and New Age literature. The purpose is to use large, impressive sounding numbers to convey a sense of immense primordial power that is beyond human comprehension. Specifically, like influence include theosophy, which is Madame Blavatsky, who York was a follower, and sacred geometry. The number 9 is often considered a sacred number representing completion and divine perfection in many traditions. The 9 muses in Greek myth, the 9 worlds in Norse mythology, theosophists like Blavatsky often use complex numerical symbology. All right, same thing with Elijah Muhammad. That was talking about it's the universe was 76 trillion years old. All these are high numbers. All right. The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky. This text is filled with complex pseudo-mathematical formulas for cosmic cycles and the evolution of root races. Same thing if you look into the what is that? The yugas of the Hindus. When they talk about them yugas numbers is long as all like those crazy numbers. All right. Gematria and isopsephy. These are ancient systems of assigning numerical value to words in Hebrew and Greek, respectively. To find hidden meanings, while York's phrase isn't direct gematria, it uses the same principle of investing specific numbers with profound secret significance. R.A. Schwaller de Lebitz, a philosopher who wrote about sacred science and Egyptian architecture, arguing that the Egyptians encoded profound mathematical and cosmological truths in their temples. This idea of esoteric mathematics is a direct precursor to York's style, York's innovation. York's innovation is to take this established esoteric tradition of sacred numbers and directly apply it to his own invented cosmological substance, the 9 ether. By doing so, he makes it sound scientific to those unfamiliar with actual science, makes it sound profoundly mystical to those attracted to numerology, where he creates a shibboleth or password for his followers, a piece of knowledge that sounds complex and exclusive, binding them to his system. Final conclusion. The phrase 9 to 9 power 9 is the deliberately constructed numerological mantra. It is not a scientific statement. It is designed to impress, confuse, and convey a sense of hidden power, perfectly aligned with York's overall method of building a new mythology from the borrowed and repurposed parts of older occult religious and pseudo-scientific traditions. Tar responds, I don't understand this. Can you put it more into layman's terms? I don't have education in this type of math. And what part of math is this from? Deep Seek responds, in layman's terms, what York is doing, imagine someone said the secret power of a superhero is 10 to the 10 power of 10. What does that mean? It sounds incredibly powerful and scientific, right? But if you try to calculate it, you will end up with the number so huge, it's meaningless for actually describing a person. It's just a phrase used to make the superhero sound unbelievably powerful. I guess it's kind of like Dragon Ball Z when they be trying to analyze the other person's superpower with them glasses and the numbers just keep going. They don't never stop. This is exactly what York is doing with 9 to the 9th power 9. He is not describing a real scientific measurement. He is using a math-sounding phrase to make his concept of ether sound incredibly ancient, powerful, and mystic. What part of math is this from? This phrase uses exponents, which you might remember as powers from school. A simple exponent, 9 2, read as 9 squared, just means 9 times 9 equals 81. A bigger exponent, 9 reads as 9 to the 9th power, means 9 times 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 9. That's a big number, over 387 million, but it's a real calculation. York's phrase is a stack of exponents, and it's so over the top that it leaves the realm of useful math and enters the realm of numerology, which is the belief that numbers have magical or divine meaning separate from their mathematical value. The simple breakdown: science versus York method. Let's compare how a real scientist in York would talk about something. A real chemist talking about elements. We have discovered 94 elements that form naturally on Earth. They are listed on the periodic table. This is based on observation, experimentation, and evidence that anyone can check. Dwight York talking about elements. The primal substance of the universe is 9 ether, which is a power of 9 to 9 power 9 is split into 99 natural elements. This is based on making a phrase that sounds impressive and scientific, but is actually one mathematically unusable. The number's too large to mean anything in the real world. Factually wrong, they are not 99 natural elements. Mystically symbolic, the number 9 is often seen as a magic number of completion. The bottom line, you are not missing a complex math education. There's no complex math to understand here. York is using the appearance of math as a magic trick. He uses big numbers and scientific words to make his spiritual ideas sound like they are proven by science, when in reality they are just beliefs. Think of it this way. It's like a wizard in a movie chanting a spell that has Latin sounding words. The words aren't real Latin, but they sound ancient and powerful, which makes the spell seem more convincing. York is using math the same way, as a convincing sounding spell, not as a real tool for discovery. Toss response: is the number calculatable? Deep Seek respond: yes, the number is calculatable, but it's important to understand what that means. We can calculate the mathematical result, but that result is so unimaginably large that it becomes meaningless for describing anything in the real world, like a substance or gas. Let's calculate it in 2 logical ways. We'll use the carat sign to mean to the power of interpretation of 9 to the 9th power 9. This means first calculate 9 to the 9th power, then take that result to the 9th power. All right, step 1. All right, and it shows that it gave us 387 million. And then step 2, you take that 387 million to the 9th power. This 387 million multiplied by itself 9 times, the result is approximately 1.966 times 10 to the 80th power. In plain English, it's a number that starts with a 1 and it's followed by 80 zeros. Interpretation 2, 9 to the 9th power 9. This means first calculate 9 to the 9th power and then calculate 9 to the power of that result. This creates a much larger number. Step 1, you get 387 million. Step 2, 9 to the 9th power of 387 million. This is 9 multiplied by itself over 387 million times. This number is so large, it is effectively impossible to write out or fully comprehend. It is vastly larger than the first result. Putting these numbers in perspective to show you why this is not science, let's compare these results to the biggest number in our observable universe. The number of atoms in the entire observable universe is estimated to be about 10 to the 80th power. That's 1 with 80 zeros after it. Let's compare. Interpretation 1, 10 to the 80th power. Number of atoms in the universe, 10 to the 80th power. Interpretation 2, 9 to 387 million, and number trillions of times larger than 10 to the 80th power. The bottom line in layman's terms, yes, we can calculate the number, but the calculation proves that York phrase is nonsense in a scientific context. If he means the first interpretation, he's defining ether with a number that equals the total number of atoms in the universe. That makes no sense for a gas. If he means the second interpretation, he's using a number so large it has no connection to any known physical reality. Conclusion: the calculation doesn't prove York's idea is true. Instead, it proves he is using a mathematical magic trick, using an impossibly huge, impressive sounding number to make a spiritual concept seem scientific. The number itself is a meaningless symbol, not a unit of measurement. Carr responds, this is important because according to Mr. York's family and pre-sentencing investigation during his 3-week trial that ended on January 23rd, 2004, revealed that Mr. York did not graduate past 9th grade. I also called his middle school a few years ago and there was no record of a graduation. Let me ask, what level of education would it take to calculate exponents these sizes, and is there a job in America that employs people for this type of thing, and for what purpose? Deep Seek responds, this is a very significant piece of context. The fact that Dwight York's formal education likely ended around the 9th grade is profoundly revealing when analyzing his use of concepts like 9 to the 9th power 9. Let's break down your question directly. What level of education is needed to calculate exponents this size? The actual mathematical skill needed to understand the concept of exponents at this level is middle school level, typically 7th or 8th grade in the USA. Basic exponents, 9 squared, taught in elementary school. Large exponents and scientific notations, 9 squared equals 387 million, solidly middle school math. Nested exponents, 9 to the 9th power 9. This concept can be introduced in high school, but the calculation itself is impossible to do by hand. It requires a computer. The key insight, the issue isn't the mathematical complexity, it's the conceptual misunderstanding. York's statements about the largest figure you can calculate and compound numbers are fundamentally errors that a student who has successfully completed a high school algebra class will recognize as false. His 9th grade education level perfectly explains why he holds these incorrect beliefs. He likely never progressed to the math class that would have corrected them. Is there a job in America that employs people for this type of thing? Yes, absolutely. But they are not doing what York is doing. They're using these mathematical concepts as tools for a practical purpose, not as mystical incantations. Here are real jobs that deal with very large numbers and exponents. Cryptographers or crypto analysts, they work with immense prime numbers and exponential and modular arithmetic to create and break encryption codes that secure everything from your online banking to military communication. Purpose, national security, data privacy, financial security, computational physicists and cosmologists. They use supercomputers to model the Big Bang, black holes, and galaxy formation. The numbers involved, like the number of particles in the universe, 10 to the 80th power, are in the same ballpark as the first interpretation of York's number. Purpose, understanding the origin and fate of the universe, fundamental laws of physics. Computer scientists and algorithm designers, they analyze the computational complexity of algorithms, often using big old notation, which relies on exponents to describe how long a task will take as the problem size grows. Purpose, making software and search engines faster and more efficient. Quantitative analysts, quants on Wall Street, they use complex mathematical models involving exponents and statistics to price derivatives, manage risk, and educate high-frequency trades. Purpose, financial modeling and profit generation. The critical difference, tool versus talisman. The real job, a scientist uses 10 to the 80th power to describe a real observed quantity, the atoms in the universe. A cryptographer uses a large exponent to solve a real problem, securing data. The math is a tool. With Dwight York, the number 9 to the 9th power 9 is not describing anything measurable, nor is it solving a problem. It is used as a talisman, a magical sounding symbol to impress, confuse, and create a sense of hidden knowledge. It serves a theological and psychological purpose, not a practical conclusion. Your discovery about his education is the final piece of the puzzle. It shows that he was operating with a limited mathematical toolkit, which explains his fundamental errors. He used the appearance of high-level math to compensate for his lack of formal training, creating a persona of a super genius who possessed knowledge they don't teach in schools. He was not a mathematician or a scientist, but a charismatic leader using numerological symbols to build a mythology and secure his authority. His use of large numbers was a performance, not the application of a real practice skill. Tar responds. Another thing is that the signs he was teaching from that Mr. York stole and plagiarized brought by Afro Johnny Eugene Brown does not contain that 9 to the 9th power 9 anywhere from the Bible interpretation, explanation, the 9 ball counts, or the nature book. Deep Seek responds. This is a critical and fascinating piece of the puzzle. Your discovery that the 9 to 9 power 9 concept is not present in the cited source material from Afro Johnny Eugene Brown is extremely significant. It changes the analysis of York's plagiarism from simple copying to a more complex method of synthesis and invention. Here's what this means. It sharpens our understanding of his plagiarism. York research shows that York was just a copier. He was a curator and an innovator with his own syncretic system. He plagiarized the foundational stories, scientific facts, and mythological frameworks from sources like the Bible for narrative structure, Zechariah Sitchin for the ancient astronaut theory, Johnny Eugene Brown for specific century esoteric teachings, basic signs of textbook for terminology. He invented his own core unifying mystic concepts like 9 to the 9th power 9 formulation and overlaid them onto the plagiarized material to create a unique Nawabian brand. I ain't tell Deep Seek none of this. All right? Except the Afro stuff. The rest, it knows. The purpose of the many 9 to the 9th power 9. If this idea isn't in his primary sources, why did he create it? To create a unique selling point. Any successful new religious movement needs doctrines that are distinct from its source material. 9 to 9 power 9 acts as a unique proprietary key to the universe that you can only get from York, not from reading Brown or Sitchin. To consolidate authority by introducing a complex sounding, self-invented numerological concept, he positioned himself as more than just a teacher of existing knowledge. He was the source of new revelation. This moved him from being a commentator to a prophet to create internal cohesion. The 9 ether and its massive numerical value become a center pillar that everything else supposedly connects to. It binds the stolen ideas from various sources to a single, seemingly coherent system that is labeled York Doctrine. The overall pattern, the York method finalized. Based on all the texts we've analyzed, we can now summarize his method with high confidence. Scaffolding from established sources, he built the framework of his worldview using well-known stories, Genesis and popular fringe theory, Sitchin, brick and mortar from lesser-known sources. He filled in details and borrowed specific terminologies for more obscure texts, like the term overstand came from the Jamaicans way back in the 60s. He stole that too and made it people believe that York came up with that. He did not. The special sauce of invention. He then added his own original, grandiose, and unvariable concept like 9 to the 9th power 9 calculation, 24 billion year moon age, and the impossible age of the Anunnaki. The final product. The result was a doctrine that felt familiar enough to be accessible due to plagiarism, but was unique and complex enough to feel exclusive and revelatory due to his inventions. In conclusion, your finding confirms that York was not merely a thief of ideas, but a sophisticated, if uneducated, myth maker. He plagiarized the parts he needed to ground his movement in pre-existing traditions, and then he invented the parts he needed to elevate himself as the sole arbiter of a supreme final truth. The 9 to the 9th power 9 wasn't stolen. It was his personal brand of mystical mathematics designed to be the crown jewel of his entire theological system. Tar responds. Remember, I told you that 9 ether is the combination of all existing gases. That was long ago, being that they have many gases that are separated at this time. However, I want to show you how Mr. York took the same term, 9 ether, and is the combination of all existing gases, but will then give 6 gases and his interpretation. I'll upload a picture and you can respond. So I took this part out of the nature books, and it shows where he talks about 9 ether or 6 gases on Earth. Which
you mean the not the nature books. That's the
My bad, the holy tablets. You're right. My bad.
mhm.
Yeah, he put this in his tablet. He said 9th on Earth are these gases. There's radon with an atomic number 26, xenon with an atomic number 54, krypton atomic number 36, argon with an atomic number 18, neon with an atomic number of 10, and helium with an atomic number of 2. These are called the noble gases. All right, so it said this is a perfect example to analyze, and it clearly shows the pattern we've been discussing. Let's break down this specific text. The initial grand claim, he starts with a sweeping, powerful, and vague statement. 9 ether is a combination of all existing gas of nature. Nothing anywhere can be as powerful as all existing gases. Purpose. This sounds profound and absolute. It establishes 9 ether as the ultimate primordial substance. The scientific justification and its immediate failure. He then tries to ground this vague concept in real science by listing the noble gases. This is a classic York move. However, he immediately gets the science wrong. The list, he correctly identifies the 6 naturally occurring noble gases: radon, xenon, krypton, argon, neon, and helium. The critical error, he gets the atomic numbers completely wrong. Helium is 2 correct, neon is 10 correct, argon is 18 correct, krypton is 36 correct, xenon is 54 correct, radon is 86. York incorrectly says 26. 26 is the atomic number for iron. This single error is highly revealing. It demonstrates that he is copying the list but does not have a functional understanding of the chemistry. He is likely working from a faulty source or his own notes from his limited education. The esoteric reinterpretation. After clumsily introducing real science, he immediately dismisses it as unimportant. The beginning without importance as of yet, and introduces his own ether chart with symbols like E3 and E10. What is he doing here? He's pulling a bait and switch. The bait, he used the language of science, periodic table, atomic number, and noble gases to borrow its authority and credibility. The switch, he then says the real truth is not in the physical chart, but in his own invented ethereal chart. This allows him to appear knowledgeable to those who recognize the scientific terms. Simultaneously claim to transcend science, possessing a higher knowledge that only he can provide. The return to the grand unverifiable claim. He circles back to the mystical assertion, therefore 9 ether is the most potent power in all the knowledge universe. But therefore it's completely unearned. There's no logical scientific bridge from a list of 6 gases, one of which is misidentified, to this conclusion. The connection is purely mystical and asserted by his authority alone. All right, so we're going to get past that, just giving you a summary. So he says, so you are correct to point out the contradiction between all gases in the list of 6. It's a clear indication that 9 ether was never meant to be a scientific hypothesis, but a foundational myth for his belief system. Tar responds, okay, I wanted to put this 9 to 9.9 in a more understandable format for my watching and listening audience. So I found an exponent calculator, and so I added the first 9 to the 9, and it gave me the same number you calculated, which was 387 million. All right, 7,420,489. Now, when I did this whole equation, it gave me 2.9512654306553 E plus 94. How can you write this out if possible? Deep sea. Excellent work. This is the perfect way to demonstrate the sheer scale of this number. The calculator is giving you the answer in a scientific notation, which is the only practical way to write such an enormous figure. Let's break down what 2.9512665430653 E plus 94 means and how you can convey it to your audience. What E plus 94 means. The E plus 94 means times 10 raised to the power of 94. So the number is approximately, it gives you the number again times T. This is what 9 to the 9th power of 9 comes out in a calculatable term. So that answers the question these dummies did not understand, and neither did the biggest dummy. How to write it out and why you can't really. To write this number out in full, you would take the number and move the decimal point 94 places to the right. Here's the number written out in full based on your calculator results. So it gives you the whole number. 29, I don't even know what that is if you try to break it down in numbers. All right? How to explain this to your audience in simple terms? You can say something like this. We calculated Dwight York's special number 9 to the 9th power 9. The first step, 9 to the 9th power 9, gave us 387 million. That part is easy to understand. But the final result is so astronomical used that it's impossible to write it out in a meaningful way. If we tried, it would be a 95-digit number to give you a sense of scale. This number is over a trillion times larger than the number of atoms in our entire observable universe. And the reason they're saying that, because ether is composed of atoms. So if you're saying that 9 ether is 9 to the 9th power 9, then automatically that means that it must be atoms that correlate to that same number. But because mankind is only able to map 10 to the 8th to the 80th power or the observable atoms, you can't go to that. You can't go that far. And York had no education past 9th grade. He was not a scientist. He was not into dealing with the planets and none of that stuff. He was nowhere in those numbers. He didn't deal with quantum, none of that. So he took something that he learned in school and he magnified it to such a degree, and that's how he done that. He was a genius, but he was a real foul person. All right. The most important takeaway is this: numbers this large have no connection to reality. They don't describe gases, energy, or anything. And you know it's true because York would never explain how is 9 ether 9 to the 9th power 9. He immediately jumped and said it's the highest number. Then it goes no numbers higher than 9, and he got away from that. But because he used 9 ether is, the mathematical number he gave is supposed to represent that. Because you're talking about all existing gases. But we know that he didn't know what he was talking about. All right, the most important takeaway, all right, they don't describe gas, energy, anything in the physical world. York using this number wasn't science. It was a magic trick with math designed to sound so impressively complex that you wouldn't question it. True. This approach shifts the facts from the confusing number itself to the undeniable conclusion. Its sheer impracticality and meaninglessness prove it's a mythological symbol, not a scientific quantity. You've used the tool of mathematics to deconstruct the very myth that tried to use math to legitimize itself. All right, so that's the end of that presentation. Ken, what do y'all have to say?
I can go first this time. Yeah, that was an excellent presentation. Number one. Number two, yeah, I remember about 10 years ago I did something on that 6 gas thing. Where I broke it down that there's no way that York could say that 6 gases were what you call it, with a combination of all gases, because number one, those gases don't even combine with other gases. That's why they're called noble gases. They're called noble gases because they stay separate from other gases, and sometimes they are very toxic to human beings in that kind of way, you know. So that was already a red flag that I saw that stuck out to me. That's when Sound Right Reason was like, yeah, that's very much incorrect. So the funny thing is, the thing that was used to break the spell was what York used to create the spell, which was when you say 9 to the 9th power 9, as far as 9 ether is concerned, people are fascinated about 9 ether. So they want to learn about 9 ether. So now he's used the thing that's used to break a spell to create a spell. So 9 ether is like, wow, yeah, tell me more about 9 ether. Well, it's 9 to the 9th power, and he used the number 9. So the number 9 ended up being a spell created. It's the same way how the Jew uses the number 9 in certain numerological contexts, but their number 9 stands for 333, which is a representation of death. So we have to be very careful as those that are looking to wake up from the spell, that they will use liberation information in order to put you in a deeper spell. And that's what happened to Nawabians. They listen to that, and 9 times out of 10, also they just overlook what York is saying, and they just take what he's saying for face value. You understand what I'm saying? Even I don't even take Noon for face value. When I first started reading this science, I researched everything. And I've even had this conversation with Tar. I said, even if when we teach this science, we have to be able to teach everything on a mundane level to the people, because then we're going to fall in the system of belief if we're just reading something and just taking it as face value. No, you also have to do your research. So anybody out there as well that are listening to this broadcast, when you are reading Noon, do your own research as well. And also, you may find something that we may not have known, and I would implore you to come to the classes and bring that information forward. You might enlighten us on something that we may not know. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of the information that you're going to see that's coming out in this platform and my platform and other platforms like Nukaru's platform or even Nebu's platform is that you're going to see us use scientific research for everything that we do. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's very important for us to be grounded in sound right reason. There's a formula that must be used for sound right reason, which is experience, evidence, and reason. This falls into evidence. That's what Tar did. Tar was like, well, let me see if what York was saying is scientifically true. You understand what I'm saying? Once you find out, okay, well, this is not scientifically true, then we got to now dig deeper to see where he's getting this from. And that's why Tar did an excellent job in breaking down 9 to the 9th power of 9, which is complete garbage. Like the Deep Seek said, is just it wasn't even founded in a semblance of just mundane science. It was complete garbage. That's the only if Deep Seek could cuss and say other words, it'd been like, yo, that's BS. That was complete garbage. And that's what I kept hearing Deep Seek said. It's garbage over and over. It's garbage. You know what he talking about. All right. So yeah, I didn't really have much to say on it because Deep Seek was basically saying everything. Deep Seek kind of put it in proper place. But I also want to just mention that this is where also the distortion comes in when it comes to Noon, because you may hear some fantastic things in Noon as well, right? But we'll be able to explain it. You ain't gonna hear 9 to the 9th power and then not be able to explain it. It's gonna have some scientific context and it's gonna have some kind of scientific grounding, especially if you hear it coming from me and breaking down the science. Okay, so let's clap it up for that class right there. That was an amazing class by Tar. He did his thing once again, you know. And I just love sitting back and being able to learn just as much as I'm able to teach as well. I find a lot of joy in just listening the same way as I love to teach as well. All right, so that's my aspect of that particular I mean, that was my explanation and my take on that. True peace.
Go ahead, Karu. You on mute. Gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah, my bad. I was on the other stream. I got the other stream going too, live with y'all, with us. There's not that much to really say. I mean, it was pretty much summed up where Anoop just said. All points is highly important when dealing with this information. This man has gotten his hands on the most important information we will ever witness and distorted it and try to make it his own. And you can't. This is the book. You can't suppress this code that Afro Uno has, that came through Rare Rock down to Afro Uno. You can't. That's it. And this is the punishment that's going to happen. And I think they're still praying to Ra. So I'm out of here. I already know what time it is. This was for the newcomers. What I can say is, if you're listening to that, do your research. There's AI out there. Research what the information you're getting from that, and really use sound right reason the way it's meant to be used. Get the Bible interpretations and explanations, the 9-ball count, the nature of nature, moon set and sunrise. But just get the Bible interpretation explanations right there. I'll set you off, and then to the 9-ball count, and then strictly with that information, nothing else interfering between your mind and Ray Harakti. No interference. That information will get you directly connected. No man can get into your way. No one on the planet. True peace.
Nebu, where you at? It's your turn, Ken.
He just stepped in.
You're not muted. I'm gonna call him real quick. Hold on, y'all.
I believe his computer's having some trouble.
Yeah, he just dropped out. Well, I'm a, I guess.
Go ahead. Go. You wanted to give your piece. I got you on speakerphone, Nebu, if you want to say something.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, true peace, Kens and friends. I had a few issues, but we getting it right. I'm a proud member of Nunabu, the Nunabu race by way of Nupu that was given to us by and from Afro Unu. And I know this video was slammed, even though I wasn't here to witness, but I will go back and check the information. And I know the next video will be a bender, and I'm here for that. True peace.
All right, so everybody stay put, and we'll be back on the next one. I'm finna spin the block real quick. Gonna be right.